Your favorite PGA and LPGA legends, pros and top instructors are right here every week on Next on the Tee. Join Chris as the greats of the game share their stories, insights and playing lessons. Now, back to Chris and more of the show.
All right, now back in making his fourth appearance with me on the French Lick Resort guest line is the CEO of Ben Hogan Golf, and that's Scott White. Let me remind you about Scott's background. Started his career in advertising in Boston, and one of his first clients was Spalding Sports Worldwide. Impressed them so much that they hired him away to be their product manager for Top Light and Strata golf balls. Later, he managed the Ben Hogan business when Spalding bought them late in the 1990s. Spalding dissolved in the early 2000s, and the Ben Hogan brand plus the Top Flight brands were bought out by Callaway, and Scott moved over to Carlsbad, California to run their marketing efforts. In 2007, he moved over to TaylorMade and ran their iron and wedge business for a few years. He then transitioned to True Temper Sports, where he ran their sales and marketing efforts on the West Coast through 2014. After nearly 30 years in the golf business, I decided to try something a little bit new. So in 2014 and 15, he worked for a high-end archery and hunting company called Bowtech. But having realized his heart was really in golf, he returned to the Ben Hogan brand early in 2016. He has successfully navigated them through bankruptcy and helped bring them back to life and into a wonderful growth spurt that they are experiencing right now. The brand is back on tour, being played by J.J. Henry and Mark Brooks, and I am honored that he is back with me tonight here on Next on the Tee. Hey, Scott, thanks for coming back on the show.
Hey, thanks for having me again, Chris. I didn't realize this was the fourth time around, but I appreciate it.
Absolutely. I appreciate you being here. So, Scott, update us. How are things going with the brand? What's the spring and summer look like so far?
You know, we're really excited. Things are going according to plan. We don't have any ambition to be the biggest golf equipment manufacturer in the world, but we're right on target to meet our sales objectives and goals for the year, and then some, to be blunt and honest with you. We're excited about our new product launches, and our factory direct business model seems to be resonating with golfers. I think people in general are, as we've talked about, used to buying things online now, and that's translated to golf equipment. So again, we're really pleased and really optimistic and excited for the future.
Scott, as you mentioned, you guys continue to introduce more and more things into the marketplace. This year you've added the Ben Hogan Edge irons and the Equalizer wedges. You've got the Fort Worth irons now with the black heads. Talk about some of the things that that you brought to the marketplace this year, how those things have been received, and what you're hearing back as feedback.
Yeah, we've been very methodical about the products that we bring to market. Of course, everything has got to live up to, Mr. Hogan's standards. And, we wanted to refresh the line. There hadn't been any new product introductions in quite a number of years. So, we started early in the year with the Ben Hogan Edge irons, which were, I hate the word game improvement, but more of a game enhancement iron for, an improving player who really wanted to play a forged club, and those were extraordinarily well received. As a matter of fact, so well received that we had some problems keeping them in inventory for a while. And then we also introduced, as you mentioned earlier, a line of Equalizer wedges. Again, forged wedges, and again, those were very, very well received. They're classical looking and play very well, and like the Edge irons, we didn't do a great job of forecasting. We found that's not our forte yet. So we ran out of inventory on a few of the more popular SKUs, the 56 and the 58 degree lofts. But we've corrected those situations, and we're doing really well. Our most recent introduction was the Fort Worth black irons, as you mentioned, and those are a slight modification to the Fort Worth 15 irons that were in our line up until just recently. We've made some adjustments to the geometry. Obviously, the biggest change is the color. We've gone to a matte black finish. big change too is that we've gone away from the individual lofts on the clubs to the more traditional 4 through P. And again, things we're really, we've been really pleased and proud, quite honestly, about how many people have tried them and then ultimately converted and bought them. So it's been a great spring and a fantastic summer thus far.
And just to expand on that a little bit, Scott, with the new black heads, and I love that idea, because one of the things I hate is when you get glare off of your irons. Talk about the decision to do that, and might we see that in future renditions, whether it's of the PTX irons or future iron sets? Will you start introducing the black along with the chrome and other designs?
I think so. As I said, we do everything pretty slowly. We're not the fastest movers in the world, and a lot of that's by design. We want to test everything out, make sure it performs, and make sure that it's whatever we introduce will be preferred by the players that we're selling clubs to. And J.J. Henry and Mark Brooks were ultimately the ones that came to us with that idea to modify to tweak some of the designs on the Fort Worth 15 irons. And some of the longer irons specifically were a little bit difficult to hit, or under certain situations. There were some modifications that they requested to the sole and bounce angles and things. But when they brought us some black irons that they had been experimenting with or had seen out on tour, and just said, a lot of good players really like this look. And not only is it, as you said, it reduces glare, but it's aesthetically pleasing. Creates much better contrast, obviously, between a white ball and a dark head. So, yeah, I think that there will be more introductions from us with that finish. In addition to looking great, it's actually more durable than chrome, significantly more durable than chrome. So, it's a win all the way around for the player and for us as well.
And Scott, I want to remind our listeners, because as we talk about the PTX irons, which I love and I've been playing, I enjoy those irons a lot. We talk about the Fort Worth irons here, and we've mentioned the Edge irons. So for our listeners, compare and contrast, those three sets of irons. If I'm a mid handicapper, a high handicapper, or a low handicapper, are they designed in that fray, or how would I want to know, since the model is to go on to Ben Hogan golf.com to order my clubs? How would I know which ones I should be really taking a look at?
Yeah, our product line is very simple. I don't think it's ever going to get any deeper or any broader. It's very cut and dried. And to give you a quick overview of our iron line, we've got the new Fort Worth Black, which is a single piece forging. It's I hesitate to use the word blade, but it's the most bladish of all of our irons, and really designed for the better player who wants to work the ball left or right and really control their trajectories. So, we've got a lot of players using that club. Most of them are sub 5 handicap, but I know people that are 10, 12 handicap players that use them as well, which quite honestly kind of surprises me. But that we consider the Fort Worth Black really our low single-digit handicap player club. The next club in the line is the PTX irons, as you mentioned, and that is a 3-piece forging. It's actually kind of complicated how the head is put together. There's also some titanium and tungsten weights that vary by individual club head. And there's a lot of technology packed into that club. And, we've got, a lot of players using those. And in fact, J.J. Henry uses them on tour more often than not. He just finds them, incredibly forgiving and hit the kinds of shots that he wants to hit, high, low, and work the ball left and right. So, those are his gamers more often than the Fort Worth Black, which, we weren't expecting, but hey, that works out great for him and for us as well. And then the newest club in the iron line is the Ben Hogan Edge iron, which was really designed using a lot of the design premise of the original Edge back in 1988. It's forged, 2-piece forging, a lot of perimeter weighting, both internally and externally, hollow head design with foam fill. Really, really easy to hit. But the big difference is that, from other competitive clubs, again, true to the Ben Hogan brand, this is a forged club that delivers incredible feel, incredible feedback, and just sounds great as well every time you strike the ball on the club face. So there's not a lot of magic here. I mean, just by going onto our website, people can pretty easily self-select which iron is going to be best for him or her.
Scott, I just want to get a couple more details about the equalizer wedges. It's been something that I've been really excited about. And as I've watched the videos about the head and the V-Sol technology that you guys use in just about all of your clubs, that makes it very different from what we see in traditional sets. But talk a little bit about, why it's going to be really good for us to get these equalizer wedges in our bags.
Yeah, I mean, they are, as I said earlier, very classical looking, very traditional club head shapes, really fantastic graphics, which obviously doesn't have anything to do with how you hit the ball, but the V-Sol design is incredibly versatile. It's got more geometry and more details than I can explain here, but it really helps get the ball, the club head through the grass, no matter what your lie is on the golf course, whether you're in deep rough or whether you're in the middle of the fairway or in the bunker. The ability to make solid contact is, really something that most golfers probably haven't experienced before with their current wedges. And again, these are forged, feel great, look great, perform great. There's really not a lot of downside to them. And we see incredible conversion as soon as we get them into people's hands, especially, good players who've been using some of the leading wedges in the industry. They quickly make the change over to equalizer wedges. So again, that's a real bright spot for us in our product line.
And Scott, as we talk about having J.J. Henry and Mark Brooks out there on tour and giving you guys some feedback and that sort of thing, but talk about why it's so important to have these guys represent the brand out on the PGA Tour and what it means for the growth of the brand as well.
Yeah, JJ and Mark are unique individuals. They both live in Fort Worth, Texas. They're in the facility all the time, probably giving us more of their opinions than we need, but they're both fantastic guys, obviously great players and really representative of what Mr. Hogan was all about. They're very humble, and just class guys all the way around. It's important for us to have some representation on the PGA Tour and the Champions Tour and potentially other tours as well as we move forward. Really just to assure people that the clubs we're selling online are still the great, clubs, the Ben Hogan clubs that they've known and been used to over the years. We have had, quite honestly, we've just been inundated with inquiries from agents and other very, very well-known players asking about endorsement contracts. And if that's not possible, because we don't want to attach, huge endorsement contracts to the price of our golf clubs, we've had a lot of players say, I'll just play them. I know they're going to give me a competitive advantage. And for me, it's just about winning. So I think it's almost a certainty that you'll see more Ben Hogan irons and wedges and hybrids and potentially other products out on tour in 2019 and beyond.
And Scott, to that point, as you mentioned, are you guys reaching out to younger players, whether they're on the web.com tour, at the college level, maybe all the way down to the AJGA level? Because it seems like, the Ben Hogan brand is something that the younger players could grow with throughout the course of their careers, and that would be something ingrained in them, starting at whatever age at the AJGA level or even at the college level. But now you've got, a player that is 13, 14, 18, 19, whatever, playing the Ben Hogan brand, and now it becomes a brand for life.
Yeah, you're right, Chris. We have done that, but it hasn't really been a focus of our strategy, right now. We're just, as I said, and as you know, we're just trying to get the company back up and running and make sure that our products are, delivering on Mr. Hogan's vision and promise from, when he started the company 65 years ago. But, informally, we've had, a number of inquiries, and we've reached out to a number of players that we know about and have some relationships with through employees or through JJ and Mark. And it is a big education to make sure that, younger players know about Mr. Hogan's legacy, understand, his commitment to quality and craftsmanship when it comes to product. And, that's something that we'll continue to build upon in the years to come. It is a big opportunity for us, no doubt, to get younger players into our brand and, to have them grow with it from, cradle to grave. And it's just something we haven't spent a lot of time and energy on yet, but we certainly will in the future.
Scott, as we talk about other new products, one of the things that I've noticed when I've watched your advertising videos and things out on YouTube, the golf balls being hit or stamped with the Ben Hogan brand. Are we getting closer to having Ben Hogan back in the golf ball business?
It's a distinct possibility. We have developed a number of designs and, worked with a few OEMs, and, we're certainly looking at all different categories of products. I don't know exactly when that's going to happen. As with any new product, we're not going to bring it out unless it is, true to the Ben Hogan brand and something we think Mr. Hogan would be proud of. And I don't think we're there yet. As a matter of fact, I know we're not there yet. But I anticipate being in the golf ball business at some point in the future. I just don't have a specific timetable for you.
Is the same true? I know last time we talked briefly about the brand potentially getting back into the metal wood business with drivers, fairway metals, that sort of thing. Are you guys still considering that for something that might happen down the road as well?
Yeah, very much so. As a matter of fact, I can tell you we are much closer to entering into those categories than we are in golf ball. Doing a lot of testing right now, and we think we have something that is about 99% of the way there. And when we get it to 100 or 110%, we'll bring fairway woods out and a driver and, potentially a putter. But again, we don't want to, we want to be, pretty calculated in how we bring products to market. We want to make sure that they're representative of again, Mr. Hogan's vision, that they're not Me Too products, that there's a place for them in the marketplace, and quite honestly, that we can offer them at a very, very competitive price through benhogangolf.com. We don't want to, we're not going to, we're not going to ever tack retail markup onto our products, and we want people to be able to afford the game and buy quality golf equipment at a significantly reduced price versus a pro shop or a golf retailer.
And Scott, we're very proud of partnering with you and the Ben Hogan brand, and you guys have also a line of accessories, including things like hats and towels and umbrellas and travel gear that are all outstanding, and it's a privilege for us to go out there on your site again, benhogangolf.com, and get those sorts of items so that we're out there representing the brand. But talk about all of the accessories that you have and maybe some other things you're looking at.
Yeah, I mean, that's sort of an ancillary business for us, but we got into it just because we had so many players that said, hey, I want to represent this brand. It's part of my life. And we didn't have accessories that, people could wear either on the course or off the course, or use in their game. So, we've, again, true to our nature, introduced a very short, small line of accessories, all very, very high quality. And we've been kind of surprised by how many we've sold and how often we get inquiries for, new items and new styles. And, I recently had an experience where I was in Boston at Fenway Park, and it was, just tickled to death to see two guys walking around the park with Ben Hogan caps on. So, again, it's a lifestyle thing, and it helps us from a marketing perspective to see the brand off the course. So we'll continue to work that business and introduce more and more high quality styles and things that people can use on and around the golf course. But again, we're an equipment company first and foremost, and that's where we'll put most of our efforts.
Scott, just a couple more before we let you go, and to that point you just made about the brand, and I'm sure it's a huge part of Fort Worth, Texas, the state of Texas, and just a lot of guys that have been around as long as I have from a nostalgic perspective and the respect that we had for Mr. Hogan himself. Talk about when you are, talking to people, when you're out and about, their stories that they tell you, or how important the brand was to them throughout the course of their golfing lives.
Yeah, it's like nothing else I've ever really experienced in my life, or I can't imagine that there are other brands that people have this emotional attachment to, and quite honestly, an emotional attachment to an individual. We're constantly mailed stuff, and people email us all the time with stories about their interactions with Mr. Hogan, or Mrs. Hogan for that matter as well. Our inbox, and inevitably at least once a week we get a package from a gentleman or a woman whose husband had an old set of Apex irons or radial irons, and they wanted to turn them back into the company, knowing that we would take care of them. And so we're turning into a little bit of a museum for historical Ben Hogan golf equipment. But it's great. I mean, it's something that fascinates us every day, and we're doing everything we can to keep Mr. Hogan's history and legacy alive, and we don't know everything, so it's great to hear all of these other stories and experiences that people around the globe have. It's really, it makes the job even more fun than it is on a daily basis.
And speaking of Mr. Hogan's legacy, tomorrow is going to be the 21st anniversary of his passing, and I was curious to get that from you, the legacy. What legacy from Mr. Hogan, kind of lives today in the Ben Hogan Golf Equipment Company that you guys try to remember and make sure that you carry forward?
Well, I mean, there's a number of them, and I think we may have talked about this in the past. I mean, I'm reminded of his legacy every day by a number of employees that we still have that worked with him personally in the 60s and 70s. He's just a perfectionist, and everybody knows the stories or has heard bits and pieces of the stories, but he was about creating, everything he did, whether it was on the course or in business, was just about being the best. And everything we do, we try to do in the best possible way, in a way that would make him proud. We feel like he's in the building with us. There's a lot of photographs and books and images of him, and obviously a lot of his old historical equipment lying around. And we're very, very cognizant of the fact that Mr. Hogan's signature is on every product that goes out the door. It's not Scott White's signature or anybody else's signature, and so we have to live up to that. It's something we take very seriously, and again, we just try to live the standards that are exceptional and exceptional like Mr. Hogan was.
Scott, remind our listeners how they can stay up to date with everything that you guys are doing at the Ben Hogan Golf Equipment Company, whether that's going onto your website, going onto YouTube, or other outlets for social media.
Yeah, the easiest thing to do is to go onto our website and poke around and see the new products. The website is benhogangolf.com is our lifeblood, and we don't sell anything unless we keep it best in class. So we're constantly updating it with new information and new videos, new product information. But certainly, while you're on there, I would encourage people to sign up for our newsletter and our email list. We try to be respectful of people's inboxes and not clutter them up. But when we think we have something to say, or we have a promotion, or some new product, we certainly want to get it out to people who are following us. So I'd say first and foremost the website, and then for people who are probably a little more technologically astute than I am, spend time on our Facebook page and Twitter and Instagram. We've got all those things going on, and quite honestly, I'm not savvy enough to keep up with some of those things.
Well, Scott, thank you so much for taking time out of your night to come back and be a part of the show. It's always so much fun getting to spend time with you and hearing about the great things that you guys are doing at the Ben Hogan Golf Equipment Company. It's fantastic stuff. Continued success. We love partnering with you guys, and I hope you'll come back and update us and share more of your stories again real soon.
Anytime, Chris. Thanks again for having me, and we'll make it a plan to talk again before the snow flies.
That'd be great. Thanks, Scott. Take care. All the best to you and your family.
Thank you. Good night.
Hey, Scott. Again, that is Scott White, the CEO of the Ben Hogan Golf Equipment Company. BenHoganGolf.com is their website. Great stuff on there. I love the PTX irons, folks. I'm telling you, those things are absolutely fantastic. I can't recommend them highly enough. Can't wait to get some of the equalizer wedges, and if they get back in the golf ball business or the metalwood business, I'll be first online for those as well.